guys, it's Rachel here, and today I'm going to be filming for you guys my top books of 2015. Yay! Yes, these are my favorite videos to watch throughout the year. I swear I love the top books of the year videos. I'm super excited to share with you guys my top books of the year. There are not 15, there are maybe 7, but that is totally cool with me. In terms of reading, I had a decent year. I didn't read anything absolutely like groundbreaking that I'm just dying over, but I also had a pretty decent year. This year I read a ton of graphic novels, a ton of comics, and that is cool for me. I began my collection of graphic novels. I have a whole big collection right now. So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my top books of the year. They're not going to be in any particular order because I can't say for sure what my absolute favorite book of the year was. I'm going to be holding up pictures here because I just don't feel like wrecking my bookshelves to pull them all out. But I have my handy dandy list here to let you guys know what my favorite books of the year are. So let's go ahead and get started. Number 1 on my favorite books of the year is going to be The Girl with All the Gifts by M.R. Carey. Now, I talk about this book all the freaking time, and again, I highly recommend that if you're going to read The Girl with All the Gifts, listen to the audiobook. The audiobook narrator is fantastic. I absolutely loved The Girl with All the Gift. If you guys don't know what this is about, it is best going into it with knowing very little, but the premise of the synopsis of it is pretty much that there's a little girl named Melanie, and she's a special little girl. Every day armed guards come and get her and strap her into a chair. She tells them she is not going to bite, and they don't laugh. And I loved this book. I was kind of spoiled by it a little bit when I first bought it because I didn't want to know literally anything about the book. I enjoyed this book immensely. I want to reread it. The ending is insane. I just love this book so freaking much. I highly recommend it to people. Number 2 is going to be The Other Series by Anne Bishop. My first book to finish of the year was going to be Written Moon Red, and I also read Murder of Crows this year. I have not gotten to Visions in Silver, but it is okay because I am really looking forward to that one. I read this book on the recommendation of, I believe, Lindsay and Sarah. I just wanted to read something different. This was my going into urban fantasy, and I absolutely loved it. This is going to be my favorite urban fantasy series, and it is so fantastic. The story is so immersive and so neat, and I never really read anything with shapeshifters, and this one definitely had it. If you guys are unaware of what the story follows, this follows a main character named Meg, and Meg is a blood prophet, so this means that when you cut her, that she can prophesize. This makes her skin very valuable to the wrong people, and she is held in this kind of work camp of sorts, and she ends up breaking free, and she finds kind of solace and friendship in this group in a courtyard called The Others, where she makes really good friends with a bunch of shapeshifters, namely Simon Wolfgard. I love Simon so much. He is one of my favorite characters ever. I just imagined him being so hot. I just can't get over it. But yes, I absolutely love The Other Series. I highly recommend it if you want a really interesting take on shapeshifters and just an interesting take on an awesome story. I highly recommend it. Number 3 on my list is going to be Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson. I picked this one up on the recommendation of Max from Well Done Books because I just had heard so many good things about it, and then he read it and I was like, well, I guess I need to. I loved Furiously Happy so freaking much. Now, let me explain. Furiously Happy is going to be kind of autobiographical. This is one of Jenny Lawson's stories. She's written 2 books. This is her 2nd book, and this is her talking about her dealing with her mental illness, specifically anxiety and depression. I myself suffer from anxiety, a specific type of anxiety, so reading this book was just so eye-opening for me, and just a good way for me to be I should not be ashamed of my anxiety. I should not be ashamed and be afraid to tell people of it, and I just love this book so stinking much. It was so good. I mean, it's just an interesting take, specifically even saying Furiously Happy, she is furiously happy. I loved this book so much. I want to reread it. I just can't thank Max enough for the recommendation. I loved this book so much. Number 4 on this list is going to be The Girl in 6E by A.R. Torrey. I picked this one up on the recommendation of Lindsay, and I loved it. I loved the whole trilogy. The third book's probably my least favorite in the trilogy, but the first book, let me tell you, it was so good. This was going to be my first like erotic book of the year, and this is like an erotic thriller. It is so good. This follows the main character named Deanna Matson, and at a young age she experiences a trauma, and from this trauma has stemmed, she has this like urge to want to kill people, to murder people. So what she does is she locks herself in a room in her apartment, and she has everything sent to her, and for money she does cam shows, which means that she does perform sexual acts on a camera on the internet for money, and she makes a butt ton of money doing so. But along the way she meets a man on the internet, and he is saying things that are a little bit too realistic for her, and then she has to decide if she wants to step out of her bubble to save somebody, or if she's going to ignore it and just keep going on with life. Each book gets progressively less sexual, I guess you could say, but I think the allure to me was definitely the whole camming aspect of it. I thought that was so neat. A.R. Torrey's writing style is fantastic. I interact with her on Twitter because she is so cool, and I love her so much. Her Instagram is like life. She is stunning, and she has an amazing shoe collection. But I absolutely loved these books. I highly recommend them if you want a really different genre. They are definitely not for children. There is explicit content in them, but it is so good. Like, it is so super good, you guys. 5 is going to be Challenger Deep by Neal Shusterman, and this one was a very surprising book for me. I did not expect to love it as much as I did. This is not something that I would normally like pair Neal Shusterman for writing. I'm used to his dystopians, middle grades. But Neal Shusterman wrote Challenger Deep, and pretty much this is a story of a boy who is suffering from schizophrenia, and you're kind of seeing his descent into mental illness. You start your story pretty normal, and then you start getting this like alternate universe, alternate reality, when he's trying to make it to Challenger Deep, which is the deepest point in the Mariana Trench. This story is so interesting, and it's so heartbreaking as well, because you start to see how his world, how his like mind is kind of going eventually into one, and you don't know, and he doesn't know which one is reality and which one is his mental illness. The story is so good. I cried. I was so emotional reading it. The drawings were so interesting. The drawings were actually ones that were done by Neal Shusterman's son, who also suffers from schizophrenia. The story is so great. I highly recommend it if you want something on mental illnesses, and a book on mental illness that normally is not really spoken about. It is really eye-opening, really heartbreaking, and I absolutely loved it, and notice it is the only contemporary on this list. And number 6 is going to be The Martian by Andy Weir. Now, I read this one at the recommendation of so many people, but I picked it up at the beginning of the year and I devoured it. I loved it so much. This is one of my first sci-fis that I have ever read, especially the first, I believe my first sci-fi of the year. This follows this main character named Mark Watney, and he is on a mission to Mars with a crew where there is a kind of freak accident that happens that leaves him stranded on Mars, and his crewmates think he is dead. And he realizes that it'll be 4 years before anybody can come and potentially save him. So he has to like pretty much MacGyver it and try to figure out how he can survive this 4 years and try to make it and try to make contact with Earth. It is so good. It is told in a whole bunch of different perspectives, but I have to tell you guys that Mark Watney's character is one of my all-time favorite characters. He is funny, he is optimistic, he can be pessimistic. The whole thing is so great. I personally really enjoyed the, whole jargon of space, the jargon of botany. I enjoyed all of that. I'm sorry if you hear the rumbling, it's thunderstorming outside. I enjoyed all of the jargon for it. I was a little bit confused at times, but I absolutely love The Martian. I highly recommend it. I still have not seen the movie, and I really need to because I just feel like I'm going to love it so much. So yes, those are my top books of the year. I have 2 runner-ups, and that's the first one's going to be The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. I read this one this year, and this is my first Neil Gaiman. I also listened to the audiobook, and it was fantastic. It is short, it is sweet, but it is so perfect. This follows a main character who at the beginning of our story goes to, after a funeral, goes to the street that he grew up on, and he goes to the house that's at the end of the lane where he finds an ocean, and it is so good. He is recalling his life as a 7-year-old. It is fantastic. I absolutely loved The Ocean at the End of the Lane. The second runner-up is going to be Blue is the Warmest Color, and this is a graphic novel. It is a French graphic novel, I believe. It is translated from French, and it was also made into an independent movie and as an independent film, which did very well. This is a very, very beautiful and poignant graphic novel. This follows a main character who realizes that she is a lesbian, and she enters into a really interesting relationship with another woman. It is beautifully written. It is heartbreaking, and I absolutely loved it. I really, really recommend it if you want something different in terms of a graphic novel. It is beautiful and stunning, and I loved it. So yeah, those are my favorite books of the year. If you guys want to let me know down below what your favorite books of the year were, I would really, really appreciate it. If you guys read any of the books that I mentioned, go ahead and let me know down below. But other than that, I am looking forward to a new year of new books. And so yeah, anyways guys, thanks so much for commenting, liking, and subscribing, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.